A magic card force is when you invite the spectator to select a card and it seems to be a fair choice, but you're actually making them choose the card that you want them to. This allows you to make it seem like you predicted the card ahead of time with maybe a written down prediction, or it can be combined into more intricate effects where maybe you get the card wrong and then you have a magical reveal or transformation of a card into their card. This allows you to be ahead where you maybe don't need to control the card or ascertain or peek the card. You can just force the card you want them to pick so that you can have a ton of magic prepared for them ahead of time. So it's very valuable to not just know a really good force, but a few really good forces, so that, let's say you're doing routines where multiple of your routines involve a force, this way you're varying it up so they're not just seeing you have them select a card the same way every time, right? So I hope you enjoy. Let's get into the magic.
Open sesame!
So I'm going to force the King of Diamonds on you. You're going to take half the cards and just place them to the side. The great thing is the spectator does this themselves, so I can have you do this. And I'm gonna get back to that in a second, but right now I'm just gonna mark where you cut. Now, if I was doing this in a routine, I could explain that, I sometimes just get hunches about people. And so I have a prediction written ahead of time that I know what card you're going to pick, something like that. But like I said, I'm forcing the King of Diamonds on you in this demonstration. And wouldn't you know it, but the card you cut to was in fact the King of Diamonds. So this is the cross-cut force. It's basically completely self-working in terms of sleight of hand. Basically uses psychology and time misdirection. So even though it's a beginner force, it actually is one I still use to this day because of how effective it is. And I'm gonna go more in depth on this force in a dedicated video, but here it is in short for now. You have a force card on the bottom or on the top, and you're gonna have the audience member cut the deck into two piles. Once they've cut it into two piles, you can come in or tell them to come in and put the other packet on top in a crisscross fashion. And you're saying with your words that we're gonna mark where you cut. This is already a bit of a lie, but that helps the illusion later. Then you're gonna use time misdirection to explain maybe what your revelation is gonna be, or a theme for the trick. But the mechanics require that you take a little bit of time misdirection. So maybe you say you have a prediction written, or maybe you have another prop that you're going to introduce, or maybe you're trying to explain how you know what card they're going to pick, something like that. But that gives you just enough time for them to forget which packet is which. That's the psychology of this move. You want the audience to forget which packet is which. But by them being in this orientation, they'll kind of misremember it as, oh, maybe this is where the cards were cut. So after you've taken a few seconds away, you're able to come back and show them the force card, and you can say, please memorize the card you cut to. So that puts the ownership on them of they did this. And then when you do the reveal later, I do think it's helpful to re-emphasize the fact that they cut the cards themselves. You didn't force them to cut there, right? So I love the cross-cut force or crisscross force. And like I said, we have a dedicated video with a fuller routine that I would love for you to check out. But for now, card force number 2 is the Hindu shuffle. And in this situation, I'm just going to force the 9 of spades on you. So say stop anywhere you'd like. You say stop there. And wouldn't you know it, but you have selected the 9 of spades. So I've talked about this in a couple other videos, and there's a routine called the Chicago Opener, also known as the world's best card trick, that you should check out after this video as it utilizes the Hindu shuffle. But in brief, you're coming in with your dominant hand and you're pinching the cards kind of in this orientation. And with your subordinate hand from this side, you're gonna shovel packets of the top of the deck into basically a normal dealer's grip here. What that does is it retains the bottom card the whole time, and that way when the audience member asks you to stop, no matter where they stop, you can have them memorize the card you want them to. And that is the Hindu force. So next is the Riffle force. So go ahead and say stop anywhere, and I'm going to have you pick the Queen of Hearts. Go ahead and say stop. You say stop here. We come to that spot in the deck, and wouldn't you know it, the Queen of Hearts. This is such a simple but such a great force. It seems very fair. You're cutting anywhere along the deck. They just say stop. It's quick and easy, and there's not too much procedure to it. So if you're just trying to be casual and move along through your trick, this one's a great one. So you can have the force card on top or bottom, But let's say it's the Jack of Diamonds here. I'm gonna leave it face up so you can see we keep a pinky break above the force card, and you can do that by just cutting the cards and sticking your pinky in when you place them down. But you want that front edge to betray as little as possible. So sometimes you can get a little bit of a discrepancy. You don't need to overthink it, but you're just trying to get that so where it's not too noticeable. For me, I like to kind of apply some pressure maybe with my index finger, and then I can come back into position when it's feeling right. And then you're gonna run your thumb down the side of the deck like you're running along the pages of a book. And when they say stop, I like to come in pretending I'm picking up here, but my thumb comes in and grabs from the break instead, and my index finger comes in and it doesn't pick up where they stopped, it just picks up all the cards above the break. So it's a bit of an illusion where right now we're actually above the break. I act like I'm gonna come in there and pick those cards up, but as I come in, I'm focusing on grabbing with my thumb where the break is, and I just kind of release that once I've come down and I pick up on the break. So you just come in and pick up above that break. So you want to avoid accidentally flashing the bottom card of this packet if you are forcing the actual bottom card that's above the break. So if you're forcing the bottom card, and that's the card you have a break underneath, when you go down with your thumb, if the audience is able to see this and then you lift on the break, that's going to create a discrepancy, and that has gotten me into trouble before. I guess it's fine if, let's say, they see that and you happen to be forcing the top card. They wouldn't necessarily see the discrepancy here then, but it is still something to be aware of. Card force number 4, what I want you to do is just see a card as they go by in the deck. Not this one, obviously, but you have to see it, okay? Ready? Did you see it? That might have been at the wrong angle for you. Let me do it again. All right, you got one. You should have seen the 7 of diamonds. So this is a psychological force in a way, and it was popularized by David Blaine and can also be seen in the Now You See Me movie. Its original version is from Erdnase, where you stop at a card in the middle, but the way they did it is that they stop at a card on the top of the deck, but it's all presentation. So you are saying that you have to see a card, first of all, because you don't want them to just think of a random card. You tell them not to think of this card, and then the rest is just you're trying to riffle by quickly so that they can't really get a glimpse of any card, and then you stop just a second longer on that top card. So it's a little bit of a timing thing, but once you get it down, you can really get that image burned in their mind. It also helps to do it twice. So do it twice so that they really can catch it, and that's a pretty cool, quick force you can do. If you want to see that force used in conjunction with a trick, you can learn that Now You See Me / David Blaine trick I was talking about. We have a video on the channel under the snap change. So for this last force, I'm going to try to force the Jack of Clubs on you, and if I get it wrong, you get this random $2 bill. So what you're going to do is either say stop, or what's great about this is that you could deal the cards yourself. So wherever you want to stop here. Great. We place the bill in the spot you picked, and I want you to see just how many cards you did before you stopped at your card. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you did the 21st card down. You stopped at 20 cards. Did you know you would stop at that card, or any reason? Of course, you're not here yourself to do this, but despite that, you are able to force people to pick the card you want them to with this method. So this is actually taking 1/2 of the Gemini twins trick, which we also have a tutorial for on the channel where you can do that force with 2 people. In fact, it might be stronger with 2 people, but there's a couple things I just kind of freestyled in here to where you can use this as a force, and I shared a story in that video about how I have actually used this as a singular force, which is pretty cool. So you need a face-up card, or a credit card, or a dollar bill. Anything that can sort of act as a proxy for a card is actually kind of fun. because it just needs to act as a marker in the middle of the deck. So if it's able to kind of operate in this way, this can be a kind of fun thing to do. And Joshua J talks about how in the psychology of Magic, it's kind of helpful if you introduce other props, right? That for whatever reason, that tends to make a trick more memorable. So I hope you enjoy just kind of some of these remixing things here, but it's all to teach the principle of the principle from the Gemini twins trick, which is to force the bottom card. So in this case, it's this two of spades, and you can have the spectator deal the cards themselves, and whenever they want to stop, doesn't matter, because you're going to place that marker in there, and you're explaining that we're just marking where you dealt to. And then a little bit of time misdirection helps here too. So when you square the cards all back up, you're going to spread the cards, and you're going to identify this card, which was the bottom card, as the card they dealt to. Now that is a lie. This would be the proper card for them to select. But by placing the cards all back together, with presentation, spread the cards, you're going to just organically identify this as the card they dealt to, okay? Don't make a huge deal out of it. Now when you do the full Gemini twins trick, you can have 2 selections for it. But again, I think with this presentation, you can get away with this, which is to say, so you pull this aside, and then with a little bit of extra time, you might say, now look how many cards you dealt down to, and you can count that many cards, and then you can say, did you know you were gonna stop there? Is there any reason you stopped there? So just by adding a little bit extra to it, a little bit of time misdirection, both when the cards are in the deck, and then when you get to revealing their card, I think that allows enough time. And like I said, I have done a single selection version of this force before, and it still seemed to be effective even without using 2 selections. Let me know down below which one was your favorite, or what is your favorite card force if it wasn't on that list. Help each other out, remain a hobbyist at heart, keep enjoying your magic, and I'll see you in the next video.